He owns credit. Oh my gosh. Man like Arthur from Batman.
Namaste, Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Ken at 10, bringing you your daily news in the property market. And of course, the big news today is the inflation figures are out. What do they say? Well, it's actually good news. Not great news, but it's good news. Inflation has dropped. It doesn't mean it's going backwards. It means that we still have quite a lot of it, but it dropped to 7.9%, which is almost a full percentage point, mainly on the back of lower fuel prices. But that's after months of being stuck at the same level. It has dropped off. Now, this has to be good news. And the reason it's good news is the higher the inflation goes, then the more likely it is that interest rates are going to have to go up again. So the good news is inflation is lower. And because inflation is lower, that does mean that interest rates are less likely to go up. Hopefully, the next meeting is on the 1st of August, and that's when they'll decide whether interest rates go up again. And my gut feeling is that they'll either hold or go up a quarter point rather than a half point. That's my gut feeling, but we don't really know. It does depend on how the Bank of England sees it, because they are independent of government, and be interesting to watch that. So the next key date is the 1st of August. But the good news is inflation down, not going backwards, unfortunately, still very high, but lower than it has been for some time. I think a lot of people will say, yeah, that's because the Bank of England raised interest rates, and it's actually not, because fuel prices are not directly related to interest rates. So interesting to watch that. Interesting as well that home builders have faced the biggest increase in 5 months, and the FTSE 350 home builders index increased by 3.9%. And that's interesting. It goes to show that the sector feels that the outlook has been too bleak, and actually rates won't go as high as previously indicated. So interesting to see that. Who struggles most with rising interest rates? Who do you think? Yes. Landlords. Yeah, that's right. 35% of all repossessed properties were owned by landlords. Lots of landlords are selling up. And this is interesting because, of course, it does put more pressure on the sector, and therefore more landlords are likely to sell. They're more likely to find their buy-to-lets are now unaffordable, and therefore the stock levels are more likely to increase in that level. And that's certainly our experience. Our friend Paul Champolina said landlords are struggling with rising mortgage costs. We had one landlord whose buy-to-let mortgage went from $350 a month to $1,100 per calendar month. That's a huge increase. And we're finding this a lot. You know, landlords are coming off the fixed rates, and they're finding that they either have to put the rents up substantially or sell. So that's just a real frustration, but it is what it is, as they say. As far as the market generally is concerned, well, it's less harsh out there than some will have you believe. Things are still selling, and it's not in vast numbers. Obviously, volumes are much lower, but by the same token, there are still things out there that are going. Average rents have risen. No surprise on the back of what we just discussed, is it? There's an article in the Telegraph says that the average rent on a newly let property in Britain rose to £1,273 per calendar month in June, and that's a new record. That means the average cost of £110 per calendar month, or 9% more than the same time last year. And that is huge, a massive increase there. And that's across the UK. Of course, here in London, those percentages make a much bigger financial difference to people. And it's similar right across the board, actually, in terms of rates generally. So apart from that, lots of people are on the market and wondering why their houses aren't selling. A couple of things on that. Number one, we are at a time of year when families go on holiday. And there's my camera going again. Let's get back live again. Sorry about that. I'm back. Camera trips out over a while. I must sort out that setting one of these days. I'll get my technical engineer Jack on that. So yeah, as far as the sales market is concerned, we have capacity for a lot more valuations now because it's holiday time. A lot of sellers are wondering, the house isn't selling, what's going on? You know, it is a quieter time of year. You have to accept that even if you park the market circumstances to one side, of course, at this time of year, families go away. And when the schools break up, that's when they're most likely to migrate off to Spain or Italy and suffer the extreme heat and get lots of sunburn. Frankly, it's crazy out there, isn't it, as far as the heat's concerned? I think I'd rather be in the UK right now. I don't know about you. But it does mean that families are away. And when the children are at home, mum and dad tend to enjoy that time, and they don't want it interrupted with complications like looking at houses and things. So in our experience, it always quietens down because the level of people looking at any one time is always about 50% lower than it would be in April, May or June. So July, August, going to be a little bit quieter. Spring's back in September, as we said many times, what we call the mum's market, when the children are back at school, and then mum goes out and hunts in earnest. And I say mum because that's what we regularly find here at James Alexander, is it's normally the ladies who initiate the search, because they seem to drive that family home wish much harder than most men. I wouldn't say all, but Yeah. So apart from that, it is kind of overcast here in Norbury. Quite cool, which makes a nice change. It's quite welcome, actually, to be honest. If you're thinking of selling or renting or worrying about whether you should auction your property and just wrestling with various ideas, we've got your back on that. Give us a call, 0208 679 8601, or drop me an email, ken@jamesalexander.com. And a lovely call yesterday about the podcast. Don't forget, we do have a podcast. Just look up Ken Humes podcast on your favorite provider, Spotify or iTunes, and we're there for you. We've got many back episodes, and we're finding a really popular response to it. I'm in the process of producing the next one now. I'll let you know when that one is out. So have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching as always. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Till then, ciao.